Hello, everyone. Today is March 23rd, 2023. This is the Kubernetes SIG storage meeting. So today we're going to go over our planning spreadsheet, and then we have a few items. So let's just go over this. The first one is recovering from resize failure. Open it. Yes, hi. Come on.
I had the PR open, but and Michelle reviewed it, but I missed the feature freeze actually. So I am going to try and get this in for next release. It's 90% there, but there's some review comments to be addressed, and yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And next one, issues related to assumed volumes and mount points. Do we have any update? Or is this the same as the volume reconstruction?
Yeah, there's a PR out for that removes the, I don't know if it, there was a PR out to remove the likely mount point check during the reconstruction, right?
Okay.
I don't know I took a look, but I don't know if anybody did it get merged, Michelle or Jan? Do you guys remember? I don't know. I think it did not merge yet, but
okay. Likely mount point.
Yeah, I still see the PR.
Not sure if it is merged. Okay.
No, it's not merged.
Not merged. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. What else?
I was saying that the likely is that issue is I think fixed. Now the thing is that now the next thing here, like similar to that one, is that we assume that the node published path is mount point, which is not correct. So this code now we are trying to, what we are trying to address is we're trying to say that, okay, we cannot assume that during reconstruction that the path will be, published path will be a mount point. So that's the only remaining issue that is there. It's kind of separate from is likely not mount point though.
Okay, thank you. And the next one is a volume group. So volume group snapshot. So this one, yeah, we are making progress. Implementation for the controller are ongoing. So we're trying to wrap it up. And also there is a placeholder block PR. So so the date for block PR to be ready for review, I think it's April 4th. So still have a few days for that. Next one is a provision volumes from cross namespace snapshot. Michelle, do you know if there's any update on this?
I haven't seen any updates on this.
Okay. Thanks. The next one is CSI volume health additional metrics. Yeah, so this one still there's no update. I need to ping run, see if he's still working on this. Next one is change block tracking. Let's see if rerun or okay. So yeah, we discussed this again in the data protection working group meeting. So basically it's still going through design discussions. Next one, the new rewrite only or rewrite once access mode. Do we have everything merged? Michelle, Chris?
Yeah, I think everything's merged except for the blog post.
Okay. Thank you. Next one is runtime assisted mounting. I'm not sure it's deep here. Anyone know? Are there any update on this?
There is no update on the cap.
Okay.
I think the CSI issue is still open.
Okay, does not look like he has updated the CSS backside either, right?
Mhm.
Okay, I'll just no update.
Yeah. Yeah, the CSI spec is the same. I've been waiting for that change.
Okay. Thank you. And the next one is CSI proxy for Windows, transition to privileged containers. Do we have Mauricio, Xing, Deep, Michelle, do you know status about this one?
I think this one, Mauricio is not really going to have time to continue on this.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's going to be on pause unless another person wants to take over.
Okay.
There was issues of some of like in our company, somebody raised that with the privileged containers, does it need like some kind of Windows kernel binary bits? Like it cannot like privileged container. It cannot be like. Can it be made like can a driver ship as a fully open source module? It seems like it may not be possible. So has anyone looked at that? I don't know if that's an issue.
Are you saying it's not even possible for this to work with the open source driver?
No, I'm saying that the base of the driver, when it ships as a privileged container, requires a Windows kernel, some sort of binary blob actually, which like at least Red Hat being open source cannot ship in present state, because everything we ship has to have open source, has to be open source. I don't know if it is a concern for other folks, but
I know Mauricio did some prototyping in this area. I did not think the container image was unusual, but I can double check.
okay. The base has to have some binary blob or something. I was told by Windows team inside our company.
Okay, so question mark for, we're not sure yet. Okay, so next one is a node expansion secret. I'm not sure if Humble is here. So he has a doc PR that is being reviewed. And then there's a placeholder block PR. Next one is a secure Linux relabeling. Yang.
All the code is merged. I have a docs PR on review and I need to write a blog.
Okay. Thank you. And those are for next releases. So this is AWS one. This is removed. And the Arue disk, I see that that's also removed. So this one we can mark this one to down, I guess. And what is this? Oh, this is the control volume mode version between source and target. So this one, it's just the doc is already done. That was merged earlier. We don't need the new docs. So the only thing remaining is blog. So Ronak says he's not sure if there's not much update. He may not write the blog, but we'll see. We still have some time to decide. And let's see what else. Robust volume manager reconstruction. Yang.
Well, same as the Linux code is merged. I have docs PR on review, and there will be no block.
Okay. Right, thank you. So the next one, should we cross this out because we haven't got time to work on this one, right?
Yes,
cross
this
Okay.
will slip to the next release.
All right. So to thank you. The next one is a PVC created by safer sets, not to be auto removed. Matt?
Yep. So all of the code is merged, and I have a blog post to do, and then update the docs.
The doc is being reviewed basically, right?
Yeah, I think the only doc update is switching the, it says it's alpha, and if we need to switch that to beta, I don't think there's any changes required to the substance of the docs.
Okay, but you have a PR out, right, for that? Have you submitted the PR?
Yes, there is a placeholder PR.
Okay.
Created.
I think the doc need to be ready for review this Tuesday. So maybe you want to make that ready
Okay.
as soon as possible.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And okay, then this is for tracking. Okay, so that's all we have here. We have a topic here for design review. Sunny, do you have this?
Yeah, I did.
Hello, are you talking?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So this is revision 2 of the volume provision IO cap, and there are some changes that I adopted from the previous feedback. The first one is that we are making the API modify volume to make it more generic. And for this revision, it will only provide the functionality to update apps and throughput. But also keep in mind in the future that if there are other more flexible parameters we want to provide, depends on the cloud providers, we can add that later. And another change of this is that for the resource quota, what I'm thinking is that we will calculate the desired IOPS and throughput usage of all the PVCs in the namespace, and to prevent the cheat on quota. And also there are some diagrams getting updated to make the flow more clearer.
Cool. I haven't taken a look at your updates yet. I guess the main thing I would suggest is for the quota design. It would be good to go a little bit more into detail about like what fields you would use and sort of the logic to count the quota, especially for operations that are in progress. because I think that when we did the volume resize function, that was a big part of the design for that. And there was a lot of trickiness around how to handle like someone quickly increasing and then decreasing their requests, and you know, how to make sure we capture any in progress operations. So I think if you can provide some more details on like exactly which fields are going to track in progress things, the in progress allocations, and you know, that whole sequence of how we serialize that, I think that'll be useful.
Okay, sounds good.
And this will be depending on Haman's changes, right? On the status of the, okay.
I updated the status based on the PR, but that PR is still in review.
Okay, but you referenced that PR in the SCAP, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah, I will take a look.
I guess the other thing is I would probably I guess, let's see, in terms of next steps, because I think we should open up the CSI spec PR2 to start discussion there. Because I have a feeling we're going to spend a fair amount of time debating the meaning of IOPS and throughput. And so
yeah,
I think we should get that discussion going soon.
yeah, it's a good idea, actually.
Yeah. I think, Hamad, do you have any other thoughts? Because I think this has a lot of similarities to the resize feature. I think the main differences, though, are that like this is actually proposing we can shrink, which might be an interesting consideration.
It's yeah, that's it, but it's simpler also because there's no interaction required with the node side, so that helps things along. But like the quota code in particularly the quota changes has to be kind of carefully reviewed, and somebody who is familiar with quota stuff has to also review, like, I don't know, Derek Carr or someone has time to do it. So somebody from Node, but not SIG Node doesn't, like, I think only Derek Carr and I don't know who else knows the quota code. So they'll have to approve these additions.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess in terms of next steps, I think what I would say is, one, let's open up the CSI change so we can start discussing. And then second thing is if you can add more details about how the quota will handle shrink and things like that. And then we can also pull in someone from Signode to help look at that.
But is the implementation for that feature intended to be throttling on the node side or throttling on the storage side?
Throttling on storage side.
Okay, and if the storage doesn't support it, then results are undefined.
Yeah, I guess, is that covered in the spec? Like, what is the behavior if, say, someone specifies IOPS and the plugin doesn't support it? What's the failure mode?
That should be invalid arguments.
So
But how
the
would you know
PVC
that?
creation would fail?
I was thinking you can still pass down the IOPS, and then the driver, the specific driver should decide.
Yeah, but if the driver decides to ignore it, then you're lying to the user about having an IOPS limit.
Well, isn't this how we'd use the extended status as well?
Or I guess I mean, generally in the past, the way we've done this is we've made a capability, right? And we check if the driver supports the capability.
Yeah, Yeah, but that's for the interaction between like the sidecar and the driver. So the sidecar knows what it should do, but like at the UI level, like if you create an object, and Kubernetes says, "Yep, I accept that," and then like you can't make it real, then you have a problem, right?
Yeah,
Because
I think
Kubernetes has no way to.
I think the suggestion here is to just return an error from create volume if the driver doesn't support it.
Okay, so you don't get a volume if you ask for a volume with an IOPS limit and the driver doesn't support IOPS limits, you just get nothing, no volume at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that's not terrible. That's at least something you can explain.
Yeah, I think the
And-
tricky part would be like modifications, like say if somebody modified their request to something that the driver doesn't support. I guess we can always just put events on it.
But isn't this what we would use the extended status for? So like if you make a IOPS request of 18 gazillion, you would get a status saying like
Not supported.
yeah, and then depending on the driver, either you would be back to the same or maybe it would be in an invalid state, but that would be reflected in the status.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I guess
like-
if you had maybe in here, if you can put examples of like what the object looks like in those various error scenarios, I think that will help.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess this, I wonder if then we want in the API between the sidecar and the driver to have something like after you do one of these operations, the driver reports back with what the current IOPS range is, so that if there is some error case, at least we can report what exactly the volume is doing. So you know what I mean? Like there has to be like a two-way communication. It can't just be succeeded or failed, because it might be ambiguous what state the volume is.
Well, but to be clear, this is just a limit, right? Like if I say 50,000 IOPS is my limit, but the device can only handle 50,000 IOPS total, and it's serving a bunch of other users, like it will still say, sure, your limit is 50,000, and then you'll just get less than that, right? Because the device can't actually go that fast. So,
yes, and
so there's no harm in specifying ridiculously high limits. You can specify infinity, and it'll say, sure, you have no limit, but then that you're just like everyone else who doesn't have a limit.
right.
That's what you get.
Right, that's true. I guess we'll have to think through. I still feel like there might be some corner case here.
I think also there's a distinction between requests and limits here, right? So
yeah, I think that is right.
And we'll need to make clear, at least in the CSI spec, like what a request actually means versus what a limit means.
I mean, like guaranteeing performance or IOPS is incredibly challenging at the storage layer, right? Because unless you basically hold back a ton of performance, you're never going to be able to guarantee a minimum. It's
right,
always...
but there is, so like, I mean, we're thinking of some specific upcoming features where users will pay for particular provisioned IO, and so there are a bunch of asterisks and stars onto like when GCP will actually be able to fulfill that, but like ultimately, like the user is specifying a number that is implications for billing. So we have to make sure that's accurately communicated and reflected.
Yeah. I mean, you can get really close, right? Like you can say, okay, we know we have about this amount. The pie is about this large. We're only going to carve up what's in the pie, and then if there's extra, we distribute it evenly.
No, I'm actually thinking specifically of the problem. you know, like currently the user has provisioned 1,000, you know, things, and so like they're actually being billed for 2,000, and then if
Right.
they make a request which is invalid, like what exactly are they being billed for? If they change this thing from 2,000 to, you know, infinity, they aren't going to be billed for infinity. They're going to be billed for something. Is it 2,000? Is it the maximum, you know, which could be 50,000?
Yeah.
Like all of that's going to be driver dependent, but I think there has to be a way to communicate that back so that the user knows what exactly they're paying for, or, you know, how much their bill is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, okay, cool. This is a good point. I think we can make sure to address that in the cap.
Did you still wanted the vendor, this thing like fields in the resources, like whatever vendor.io/something?
So we are thinking that for this cap, we just want to provide the functionality of updating IOPS and throughput, but keep that vendor specific parameter in mind and not blocking implementation, because I'm thinking there is another way to pass in the vendor parameters, like even in the same modify volume request, we can have a flexible map for the parameters, just like what we do in storage class. But it's not like the problem we are trying to solve all at once right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably say, like, I don't think like in the CSI spec we should add, you know, like a opaque set of values, because I think that is going to open up a big can of worms. I think from like the Kubernetes API, we should definitely, like, we can allow people to put their own fields in there, but I don't think we need to provide a mechanism to go pass them through down to the CSI driver.
Cool. Yeah, I think it makes sense to like have a limited scope, because yeah, it will open up. Did we solve the problem of combining both IOPS and size in the same call if we had to, like, because some of the cloud providers would prefer that rather than doing two separate calls?
That's an interesting question. I feel like that's kind of like a resize v2 kind of thing. Like if CSI drivers support it, we'll pass the resizing request through the modify volume request. But I think that'll be pretty tricky, right? Because we'll basically have to have like two different resize controllers.
And I would also say that from my past experience of like using databases, the vertical, like resizing a database, sorry, I'm just talking about one use case, that doesn't happen so often to some point, especially if you're using some non-relational database, and then you will start to tweak some other parameters like the CUs. For example, if you know DynamoDB, they actually provide the one thing for you to configure is RCU and WCU. And that's just changing how much you can do in your IOPS and throughput.
So you're basically saying normally, like, someone wouldn't increase the capacity and the IOPS throughput at the same time. Usually they're updated independently.
Yeah.
Well, from the application side, I think that's true, but from the storage side, the opposite is true, right? Most storage devices have a fixed amount of capacity and a fixed amount of IOPS, and they prefer to carve it up in fixed chunks. So like every gigabyte gets 3 IOPS. So if you have a terabyte, you get 3,000 IOPS, and that's not fungible, right? That's how storage prefers to operate, because the realities of physics say, if you only sell your IOPS, or you only sell your capacity, you're leaving the other one on the table and no one's paying for it. And that's not so good.
I guess though, at least so we already reached out to a couple of different storage plugins, and it sounds like there's at least a fair amount that have the ability to update IOPS and capacity independently.
Oh, I mean, they can,
Mhm.
but you end up in this perverse situation where you can sell all your IOPS before you run out of capacity, or sell all your capacity before you run out of IOPS, and now you're leaving money on the table, right? And so while it's technically possible, it's economically disadvantageous, and so people don't like to do it.
Mhm.
There's another, like for an AWS case, for example, user increases the size from 10 GB to 100 GB, and then they're done. Then they realize, oh, now that I have increased the disk size, my IOPS is too low. But the quota of the API call will prevent them from increasing the IOPS for another 6 to 10 minutes, actually. I think 6 minutes at minimum.
That might be okay.
Okay, I don't know how much it used to be 6 minutes, but it actually could be higher. Like you cannot modify volume again for a while.
I think I think Matt, maybe you have the details, but I think the GCP quota is worse for
Yeah, it's
update.
4 hours.
It took hours.
So I think right now GCP is going to provide the update API, but that one only update IOPS and throughput. And we will add the size later as well, so we can do that all in one API. But we also have a resize API that's standalone, just for resizing, and that one will still function.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I was just thinking for some drivers, like for AWS, we were thinking I need to get to it, or someone and my team has to get to it to modify IOPS as it resizes the volume, because that's at least scale it based on the IOPS per GB settings in the storage class or something. Because
but like, do they need to like specify both, or they only need to specify one and then the other will change?
Apparently, sorry, go ahead.
It kind of depends how your billing works. I was going to say, like, if you have a device that can only provide 3 IOPS per gigabyte, and someone comes to you and says, I only want 10 gigabytes and I want 3,000 IOPS, what you may actually do is you may give them a whole terabyte, even though they don't want it, because that's how much space you need to give them the IOPS they want. And so like what your billing could do is it could just say, look, I'm going to bill you for either the higher of the capacity you want or the IOPS you want. I'll do the math and figure out, what the higher one is, and that's what you get billed for. And then if you leave space on the table or you leave IOPS on the table, that's your problem, right? That I'm still getting my money. So the billing system could hide this, and you could still efficiently carve up your raw storage and its capacity and performance. Get a decent.
As for what you're asking, like I need to do, like, someone, either me or somebody has to do some research on this. Like I would have initially thought that, okay, you specify IOPS per GB during creation, and then you automatically increase the size, then IOPS should increase. But there's IOPS you can set in the modify volume call also, and there has been bugs reported in it. So I wanted to ensure that we are not proposing something that will get the user stuck, like they resize the volume for size, now they cannot change the IOPS. So basically, like, one of us has to do some homework.
Yeah, I guess one of maybe one of the questions that we should answer in this CAP is do we want to, should the IOPS field be used when the underlying storage system kind of has this like IOPS per GB thing, or should it really be only used if it's truly independent parameters that you can modify?
Yeah, because I mean, I think currently a lot of it is implicitly per gig already, and we don't necessarily want to change those semantics if that's what the volumes have.
So as proposed in the CAP, the IOPS will be per GB. It's not aggregate.
No. I think the proposal is to allow it to be independent.
Okay.
Because I think for a lot of existing storage systems, like the IOPS is kind of implicit and people control it by the gigabytes. But then I think some storage systems do allow you to actually control them independently. And I think that's what we're trying to support.
So should those be like separate capabilities? You know, IOPS per GB and this set independently, you know, IOPS only, or those are
yeah. So I think we need to kind of make that clear in the spec, like when we describe what it means.
I mean, I like the idea of allowing them to be independent as long as like it's possible to do the correct thing with billing and get the right behavior, because nobody can make money selling storage and IOPS independently. It just doesn't work. You have to tie them together at some level.
Yeah, so I think what this is meaning is like somewhere in the CSI spec, like in the, you know, when we're describing this capability, I think we need to kind of make clear exactly the semantics of, if someone says they support this, what are those semantics?
Okay. Right. So, okay. So open PR and CSS back, and then we need to address all of this. Okay. Anything else? Are we good with this discussion? Okay. Thanks. So moving on to the next topic. Let's see if I think the Matthews, he said he couldn't join the meeting. He added this. So he was in one of the cozy meetings. He was talking about if it's possible to add a new object storage protocol for Dell ECS. So we open the issue here. So right now we support 3. We support. Okay, I think it looks like he added a few more things. Right now we support 3, right? We support S3. We support support Azure and GCS. So he's asking if it's possible to add another protocol, or maybe even more. So I thought, you know, we should bring this up here. Any thoughts about this, Saad, Michelle?
I don't have any objections. I think that's a perfectly reasonable ask. I think the only question really would be when you introduce a protocol, how widely used or is it, given the effort? But if they're willing to do the work to put it in, I don't have any objection.
Is there any ongoing work to maintain it? So we would be concerned if someone like went and implemented a totally unused protocol and then walked away, are we left with a maintenance burden?
Yeah,
So
that's a
this
good
is for-
question.
Yeah, this is for Dell ECS. So I assume, they will be maintaining their own part, but I'm not sure how do we define that, I guess. So how do
I
we
don't-
batch? Yeah.
Like, I think in the cozy stuff itself, there isn't anything specific to the protocol. If the protocol is mostly used as like a handshake between the user and the driver to make sure that they speak in the same, or like the driver supports the protocol that the user wants. Is my understanding correct on that?
Right. So this is basically, I think this is in, which one is that?
Like,
See,
I don't think these are
class?
the, I don't think the cozy controllers actually like do anything specific to any protocols. It's really like a pass-through value.
Right. I think it's just, I think the driver may need to do something so yeah, so we have it here, right? So those three. Okay, so let's say if they want to add one, what is the process for them to get there if they want to do this? So we could definitely ask them, if they want to, if they can maintain it, they probably will say yes, because since now they are raising this request. And are there anything else we want them to do or will this be like going through some review?
I think asking for long-term commitment is a reasonable one, and beyond that, I think let them drive the implementation, and cozy folks can help review it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so basically open or a PR and have a routine review it. So anyone here wants to review this before that get in? Assad, Michelle, you guys want to take a look when those PRs are out? Or
I can help take a look, sure.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember what we discussed at that time, and we're saying we start with 3. I don't remember what we said, if we want to add more or what's the requirement. So okay, so probably we'll just let them hold the PR for a while until we get some reviews from you, Sad.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's this one. And then we have this the SIG storage annual report out. So yeah, I add a link here. So please help review it. So that's all we have today. Are there anything else we want to discuss today? Otherwise, yes.
So I need a favor, like when Shalini, who volunteered to work for stateful set expansion, I sent an email. She took some notes, like I could basically reconstruct this note, but one of the issues like with the stateful set expansion is it's the very tricky feature, and when people open enhancement, they just like they just miss out all the corner cases. So the thing is, like, yeah, I want to put that document out so that if we are reviewing an enhancement, we can let people know about the corner cases that exist in that code flow.
So you're asking for notes from Shalini? Is that your?
Yeah. Yep.
I think she's out for maternity leave. I have not seen her for ages. I don't know
Okay.
when she's back. I can ask, but I does not look like she's coming back soon. But I can definitely ask. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Then
I will definitely check and see. I'm not sure when she's supposed to return.
okay.
Okay, I'll check.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Okay, then that's it for today then. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks.